Never a dull moment when it comes to Minnesota sports. Whether it's positive or negative.
The Yankees have swept the Twins.
Minnesota Sports Chat has you covered. Talking nothing but Minnesota sports all year long. It's time now for the soon-to-be award-winning, if only in his own mind, Minnesota Sports Chat with your host, Ross Brendel.
Well, the soon-to-be award-winning and perhaps soon-to-be defunct Minnesota Sports Chat. Welcome inside edition number 251 of the soon-to-be award-winning / perhaps defunct Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by my friends at Beans Coffee Company. Use that discount code of Sports Chat at coffeebybeans.com. Save yourself a little bit of cash at checkout on the best tasting coffee you will ever put in your mouth. Roasted, how about roasted locally in Mankato for those of you who live in Minnesota. But good news, they'll ship all around the United States. Coffeebybeans.com, promo code Sports Chat. Mr. Daniel House, I won't quite give away everything. I've alluded to it in my last edition with Manny Hill and with you. Perhaps this will disappear, perhaps it won't. Still a little undecided, but you have been a part of 2 iterations of Ross Brendel podcasts. And in some way, shape, or form, I'll at least beg you on once, twice, who knows, maybe more in the next one. You're basically, whether you want to be or not, you are attached at the hip to me. How do you feel about that?
Well, I just feel honored, like I just won an award. I mean, you're presenting me with the Ross Brendel podcast all-time lifetime achievement award.
Lifetime achievement award, yeah.
You're gonna print me like a wall sign, wall degree.
Well, it's been fun, and largely, again, sometime in July, I'm probably going to sunset this, and I'll let people know what's next and where else you can find me. Many people who listen to this find me on some Score North stuff. Anyways, a newsflash hint, whatever is next for me will be in that vein, if I so choose to fully shut this down. But I do thank you to the people that have reached out, and you're always free to do so. MinnesotaSportsChat@gmail.com or on the X machine at the Ross Brendel are probably the easiest ways to do it. But you and I have many similar interests, including Gopher sports, which I think we'll maybe spend the back half, of this edition of the show on. But I do just kind of want to talk all Minnesota sports with you to a degree, and also the annual Minnesota Sports Chat Open, which I think, is this the 3rd time, maybe the 4th time already that I have ventured out to. I won't give away your entire location, but we'll call it, I don't know.
Northern Wisconsin.
Northern Wisconsin, middle of Northern Wisconsin territory, where you school me all around a course that I can tell you, Daniel, and this is a compliment, that same course would probably cost almost double the price in the cities. So I am happy to make the drive to play golf with you and lose. I think the first year, Daniel, I think we were close. I think it was a couple strokes. Last year, you made a mockery of me. And again, newsflash to you, Daniel, I've golfed twice this year, 9 holes, and both have been an adventure. So I'm fairly certain you're going to make a mockery of me again next week. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll be inspired to play. Maybe I'll golf like a champion when we get together on 4th of July Eve.
Maybe that will just inspire you, give you
America.
What you need
America.
To unlock a championship level performance.
How much of the NBA draft do you get into?
Oh, I love it. I'm huge into the NBA.
Not
a lot of people realize
as much.
I'm a big basketball guy.
Well, okay, so I know you are because we've talked about it a lot. We've talked trade scenarios on this pod. You don't always talk Gopher sports. And I'm fairly certain that I knew that maybe before even last year's NBA draft, we talked a little bit. On the Minnesota Twins front, I'm just going to continue to call the kid Joan Beringer until I'm told that that's not how you pronounce his name. Good old Senior Smoke reference from the Minnesota Twins. I'm going to guess, they said it last night, but I heard it 3 or 4 different ways. Do you have a pronunciation? Are we going with Johan Beringer? What are we going with for our
17th?
Go ahead.
Beringer.
Okay.
Beringer?
Johan Beringer. So you guys
Like
sound French, though. I can't sound French.
Beringer, I think it is.
So, in theory, Daniel House, this is just a theory. We have no idea if this kid will be any good or not. In theory, I like the pick. You know, it's process. I say that about all drafts. If I can understand the process and I like the process, I'm good with it. He looks like he has the potential. Again, he won't turn 19. He'll turn 19 rather soon, I believe. Very young. He's only played basketball for literally 5 years, but he looks like an athletic freak. He can not only catch the ball, Daniel House, it appears he can handle the ball, right? So that's impressive with athleticism to actually drive the lane. Now, again, that's France. That's entirely different competition. But I like the process here. I mean, I'm sure the Wolves shopped the pick. I think we all know they did. In a perfect world, maybe they would have moved it. But I also think they had a plan. If we pick at 17, these are kind of the guys that we're looking at. And I like the process. So let's start with the Timberwolves. Your thought on Joan Beringer to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Senior smoke.
I felt like this is a signal that they're building for the future at the center position, and felt like not only does he have some potential, like the athletic ability, he's only 18 years old, he's a rim protector, can catch the ball, give you some offensive potential, and he hasn't played basketball all that long. So they're hoping their player development can help, and having someone like Rudy Gobert, who's also French, to guide that process and help him adjust. Tim Conley, he knows what he's doing with international bigs. Part of the process with Nikola Jokic. I fully trust him to evaluate international players and how they're translating to the NBA. I was really hoping they were going to get a ball handler at that pick, but I understand the appeal of trying to get a big in here because they got to start thinking about developing, and maybe eventually they'll get to the point where they move off Rudy Gobert, which thought maybe would happen this offseason, but it's becoming increasingly clear he'll probably be back.
Well, and I've heard that take from a lot of people too, Daniel. And I guess my thought, and I agree with that, by the way, and I think what cements that is kind of the question I'm going to pose to you. It would seem that if they could bring in a young kid from France who can sit behind Rudy, and the kid's probably barely going to play this year. I mean, mop up duty more, whether when you're winning by 30 or losing by 30. But it feels like having Rudy around for at least a season could be beneficial for the development and the growth of said young player. Now, if Connolly could make a move and maybe an offer came to him that he liked, I don't think he's dead set on keeping Rudy. But it seems like logic would tell you they like having Rudy here because, to a degree, not the same player, but a similar background, a very similar background, and they play the same position. So it feels like it's kind of like the team. House will make college football reference. Okay, back in the old days before players could move every 6 minutes, you might have a junior, senior quarterback, and you bring in a freshman who redshirts and learns. Kind of feels like this is a redshirt freshman year, perhaps even a redshirt sophomore year, because with how young this kid is, Daniel, I mean, logic would tell you, especially if this team is doing what they want to do, still competing for Western Conference championships and NBA finals, he's probably not getting significant minutes until year 3, maybe back half, middle of year 2. So it just feels like this a part of the plan here with this kid is to let him learn and grow under somebody with a similar background and similar skills, so to speak.
And we don't know whether Tim Conley's done yet. Is he trying to make a trade for an established player, a ball handler? Maybe it's, someone like Colin Sexton with Utah. I know Doogie floated that idea with you guys. I don't know. I think it's like still they need another shot creator, someone that can stress off the dribble to complement Ant and take some pressure off of him. And that's my opinion moving forward is they got to try to make maybe one veteran move, and we'll see what they do tonight. Are they going to be able to add a player that can help them? I'm fascinated on how day 2 plays out. With that top pick in the second round, I would guess they'll probably consider trying to move that maybe just like the NFL, you get a lot of calls from people that want to come up and get the guy they covet as they reset their boards.
Remind me, was Colin Sexton, I think it was him, or was it Darius Garland? I can't remember. Was he one of the 3 players that almost beat the Gophers 3-on-5? Was that Sexton?
Yeah,
or was
that was the
Garland?
Alabama-Minnesota game, like right around Thanksgiving that one year. Oh my gosh. That was
Sexton,
an incredible game. Yeah, it was him.
Yeah. So for those who don't remember, if I seem to remember, a couple players foul out or were most ejected for fighting and coming off the bench. I think
there's ejections and foul outs.
so at the end of the game, Alabama literally had 3 players. And you can still play that way. Nothing says you have to play with 5 guys. And when Bama was down to 3 players, it was what, House? Like a 15, 20-point game. And Alabama comes roaring back with literally 3 players left and almost won the basketball game.
I just remember Richard joking about it, about having 3-on-5.
You don't practice for it, right?
There's no circumstance for it. No contingency plan.
So I agree with you on the Timberwolves. We don't need to go too deep into it. I'm assuming some people will watch and listen to this after night 2 of the draft. But I guess I'd be shocked if the Wolves largely run it back with the same roster. I think some type of move is coming. Is that tonight? Is it this upcoming weekend? I don't know. Could be a day before the team heads to camp like last year. I mean, you truly never know. But something tells me they're marinating on something, and it's probably multiple things, right? Probably 1 or 2 of the dominoes they wanted to happen probably didn't break their way, Kevin Durant being one of them. So naturally, you have more than just a plan. That's how you got the kid you drafted last night. He was part of season plans you went in with. So I am fascinated and interested to see where this thing goes. And on drafts themselves, Daniel, it's NFL draft, NBA draft, and then everybody else, right? I pay attention to the NHL draft. I like it. But you're so seldomly going to see a hockey player make an impact in the upcoming season. A handful here and there. It's been done more recently. But in the NBA, half those guys drafted in the first round last night are going to play significant minutes next year, if not more of them. So I think that's probably why it's the most important. I will say this, I'm old school. I hate it being 2 days. I think it's dumb. I just get it done in one night. But I think it goes NFL, NBA, NHL, NBA. If you're talking about the big 4 American sports, would you disagree with that ranking?
So I'd go NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. MLB, perfect. You can't even access their product. Like they're stuck in the Stone Age on MLB Network. And half the people don't get it on their streaming service, man. Well,
and then you can get the streaming services, but I'll be honest, I have access to the Twin streaming service, and they do a good job with it, but it's just kind of weird because when you go there, nothing is happening until there's a game. So like, it's just, there's nothing. And I get it. Like, you're not paying to watch 24/7 content, but the whole thing is just weird. And then I still find it, I don't know, this might just be unique to the Twins, maybe like brand sentiment, because I take that back, because I've watched a lot of the other products of the teams that are also run by MLB, and they go to commercial break, and do you know what it says? What? Commercial break in progress. Like, there's not even commercials. So really, it just seems like they're relying on the revenue source of people paying. And I take that back. There are commercials, but not nearly as many as there used to be when you were watching traditional TV. The problem with the Major League Baseball draft is very similar to the NHL draft. They might be good players and you can be excited, but if you see them, it typically takes 3-4 years. NHL, NBA, you're going to see them right away, or at least quicker than the other 2 sports.
NFL, you can get a 4th round pick that plays right away. Everybody makes some sort of tangible impact, especially on the first 2 days of the draft. So the NFL's on another tier. They market it the best. It's all packaged up well. The NFL, it's built for TV in every respect. Even the product on the field is best for television flow.
This will be our Gophers segue. I saw the head football coach for the Minnesota Vikings had some very good things to say about the former 1-year quarterback at the University of Minnesota, Max Brosmer. Basically just said, yeah, he's not getting a lot of reps, but the kid's wickedly smart. I don't know why he would say that, and I'm being positive here. You typically don't say stuff like that because you don't want to lose somebody if you expose them to the practice squad. So then my first thought was, maybe they don't plan on exposing him to the practice squad, because I've thought from day one he could give our guy Brett Rippon run for being the number 3 quarterback, especially if you value smart guy in the room. Also knowing that by the time you get down to your third quarterback, you're probably pretty much screwed anyways. So I'm starting to think when I see comments like that from the head football coach, I'm starting to think Max Brosmer might have even more of a realistic shot than I gave him before, and I was very high on him to make the Minnesota Vikings roster as that number 3 quarterback. Not saying he will, but coaches don't typically go out of their way to say things like that at this point when they know they might have to make a decision on a player, because they don't want other people knowing what they know.
And the amount of guaranteed money they gave him, in the draft process to secure him tells you that they were very high on him. And he worked in an offense that conceptually will have some similar elements to what the Vikings are doing. So the transition should be smooth, and he has a unique background. Go look at players that have multi-transfer arcs that have success at all levels and are productive at all levels. They tend to translate quite well. And with the Vikings needing another quarterback in the room, along with Sam Howell, who they traded for behind J.J. McCarthy, we know Brosmer better than most people. I've been around him a ton. He's a great leader. He prepares at a high level, and he's very smart, very, very smart. He can process and see the field and understand how everything fits together. And O'Connell's offense is complex, and I know that quarterbacks have to be cut from a different cloth to pick it up, and Brosmer is one of those guys that can handle that, and so it puts him in a position to have a chance, and we'll see how he does in the preseason. I know he'll take advantage of that opportunity.
You're going to be so excited right now because I'm just going to set you up, and I'm literally going to turn my mic off. Okay, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Boy, it's been a great week on the recruiting trail for the Gopher football team.
It's been a active month, Ross. I mean, about 15, 16 commitments, I believe. So tons of content on the site. Roman Voss committing from Jackson, Minnesota. Had a final 2, Minnesota and Alabama. Tight end. Projects, he played quarterback, a little defensive back, some wide receiver occasionally, but betting on the traits, the movement skills, the translation to the next level and how they can use them is just as a mismatch receiver, tight end type. In this day and age, they're looking for tight ends who can play multiple roles, work in the backfield, work out of the slot, work out wide, get you into a lot of different formations. And Roman Voss is somebody that the staff thinks can be featured quite creatively. And just top to bottom, you being able to pick up, offensive line's been a huge point of emphasis. Long, athletic guys they can develop up over time. Linebacker spot, being able to pick up a couple guys in Angel Luciano and Hudson Dunn. Hudson Dunn's got some good versatility to come on ball and off ball. And then also Ryan Estrada, the running back. That was one that they're able to fend off some bigger programs to get him a dynamic, bursty back with second and third level home run hitting ability and great tackle breaking skills in the second and third level. So it gives them a different type of skill set in that running back room maybe than they've had in the past. So class is taking shape. You got 24 commitments here on June 26th. So Minnesota has been quite active in the month of June.
So as you know, and I'll say this 1,000 different times, as many different ways as I can, I am very pro the head football coach. I'm pro poking fun at him when I think he deserves to be made fun of. But again, he's a big-time college football coach at a major university. He should be okay with that. I continue to see stuff like this, and you can nitpick every season, and Lord knows I have. At this point, Daniel House, I'm fairly confident. It's not just because of the recruiting. The recruiting, to me, it's a part of it. I'm just talking in general and in whole. This is the best coach in my lifetime. I mean, for the longest time, I would stop short of that and say it was Glenn Mason. And it was for the longest time, but PJ's passed him in the last handful of years. And that's no slight to Glenn Mason. Glenn had less bowls to play with, so to speak. PJ's benefited from an explosion in bowl games, but Glenn also had 20 plus bowl games technically that were being played at the time, not all Big Ten bowl games. But, look, it's people would rip on Gopher coaches for not keeping the Minnesota kids home. So whether they end up staying or even whether they end up working out, you should get credit for this. At least those people should. I have always said, Daniel, and you've heard me say this before, and I'll censor this, I don't give a bleep where the kids come from. I don't. Not one bit. It's great if you're from Minnesota. Yes, I'm annoyed if you're a Minnesota and you go play for the Badgers and you play really well. But you know what I care about, Daniel? Winning. Winning. And you can find kids all across the country. But I will say this, if you're one of the fans that used to poke fun at the Gophers, they don't keep in-state talent, or, oh boy, yeah, PJ, wow, he's great, but nobody from Minnesota stays. Well, you owe him a congrats, because for the last handful of years, he has been all over this. So it's big kudos to the head football coach from me.
And now it'll be fascinating. Fans will have to adjust to just how the landscape's changing. Now national recruiting is a big part of the beast here, because how you lay your roster out while you're paying players now, you have to be able to get guys that, have a balance of, players that can make an impact and players that are developmental options. So now how does your recruiting strategy change? Are you, more of a national recruiting brand where you're trying to find players all over the map, hitting regions that are hotbeds for talent? That's why I think it's hard to compare coaches across eras, because the game of football changes so rapidly.
Oh, it's so different
that you can't even, it's not even an apples to apples comparison. You kind of take it where the coach is right now within the landscape that they're in. I mean, it's changed since PJ got here. Think about how different recruiting and roster building, you get the portal element, you got NIL, and now you got revenue sharing. So there's been like 3 separate transitions for PJ Fleck since he's been here, where it's like 4-year recruiting development, old school college football, to let's incorporate the transfer portal in, let's incorporate NIL in, and now let's incorporate the revenue sharing piece. So think about, just since I've been doing this, going on 10 seasons now, the evolution of it. I said I could write a book on how the game's changed over this decade, because if you're not adaptive, it's going to be tough to compete, especially now when there's money involved. And if you miss on players, it can be detrimental for the future.
So this is a compliment to you, and I'll dig at myself on this, and I'm going to ask you to give your best elevator pitch or just explanation of where we currently sit today. Because I will be honest, Daniel, I can't make sense out of what the heck is currently happening, how much money is available, what is going to be enforced, what is not going to be enforced. Because now, to your point, Daniel, and I'm just going to dummy it down with different technology or different terms. Kids can get money from local businesses. Kids can get money from the school. Kids
Correct.
Can also decide after a year, I don't like it here, I'm going to go somewhere else. However, when you're getting money from local businesses, allegedly you're now supposed to report that, and it's only supposed to be X amount of dollars, or up to X amount of dollars, or when you hit X amount of dollars, it has to be reported here. Who is actually reporting it, and who's actually enforcing it and paying attention to it? That is the gray area, Daniel. Does anybody actually know that or understand it?
Okay.
The season begins in 2 months.
There's a lot that everybody's still trying to figure out. Athletic directors across the country have a lot of stuff to sift through right now. But here's how it works with the NIL piece. So there's a revenue share pool that comes from the school. They're going to pay the players. Then there's the NIL piece, which is kind of what's existing right now, where you can get money for your name, image, and likeness.
We like to call that the Wild West portion.
Yes. But now there's a clearinghouse, okay, through Dell Light. They're going to run it. There'll be an enforcement arm for that component. Anything over $600 has to be approved by the clearinghouse. So
but who's going to say no, though? That's what I don't get. Like, what is the bar for saying no with the clearinghouse?
It has to be realistic, fair market value for the service that's being done. Is how
that's also different in each city and each state. So I'm just so I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to go. And now I'll shut back up.
I'm intrigued to see what type of deals get denied. What happens that
yes, that's what I'm wondering about.
It sounds like a lot of them wouldn't have been improved that have occurred in the past. And that's why you saw such a huge rush before the House settlement actually went through in the court process. Teams hurrying up, front loading, getting guys under the contract, paying them out before the settlement happened with the NIL component. So there's a lot of people rushing to get funds distributed before the settlement kicked in. So then those didn't have to go through the clearinghouse and the $600 limit. So that piece, then the revenue share is $20.5 million. That's for the whole athletic department. Okay. And you got to figure out, everybody can distribute it how they want to distribute it, to what sports they want, different allocation of funds. So you'll see some schools give out 75% to football. Some schools might give out 65% to football. It's a balancing act on how you want to do it, how you want to build it. And there'll be, contracts involved in terms of like salary cap, buyouts for players, how you do this thing. It's going to be fascinating because I tell people all the time, like NFL, you got the 53-man roster in the practice squad, far less numbers than a 105 roster. And there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So I'm fascinated to see how some teams do it. What's their approach? What type of model do they follow? NFL model, yeah, you can follow that NFL model, but at the end of the day, it's still college football, and the styles are different. So what do people do? I'm buckling up to watch. I'm fascinated.
Well, do you know what I'm most intrigued by here? In the last handful of years, we've seen it. Chip Kelly comes to mind, basically all but said, I don't want to do this anymore as a head coach. I would rather just be a coordinator. Couple of coaches who were head coaches at mid-major programs were basically tired of seeing their rosters pilfered, and they just left head coaching jobs instead of trying to win at their head coaching job and maybe become a head coach at a Power 4 university. Now, they basically just said, I'm blanking, but one of the guys from the MAC left a head coaching job in the MAC to be a linebackers coach. He didn't even take a coordinator job. He just went to be a linebackers coach. So I'm interested to see if all these new levers, is this going to further drive coaches away from the college game, or are these new levers actually going to help maybe make them feel like they have a little bit more control? They might not have it in the standpoint of players continuing to come and go year after year, but at least now there might be some bar or better guidelines for how to handle everything. That's what I'm interested in. Will this help with coaching fatigue, or is it going to make it worse? Because I still think there's some darn good college coaches in the game, and I don't ever want to lose that. But I still kind of feel like we might be at risk for it.
Here's what I'll say. I think the coaching cycle this offseason will be crazy. And I say that because there'll be a lot of coaches that find out what their revenue share distribution is for football. And if they're not happy with that revenue share distribution, they're going to find somewhere where they're happy with the revenue share distribution. Or coaches who don't adjust super well to this whole landscape, they're probably going to go a different direction. Maybe they don't want to be a head coach. Maybe they want to be a position guy. Maybe they're looking to go to the NFL or just exit the game altogether. I mean, this is a different beast. You look at Cal now, you got Ron Rivera as the GM, the head coach reporting to the general manager. How are teams going to handle that dynamic where it's like the NFL, the head coach, is not making all the decisions. The general manager and the head coach, they're working in conjunction together to develop what type of plan they want for their roster. So the dynamic of how things are done, the way athletic departments structure their operations, it's changing, and they got to figure out the budget piece. I mean, you got $20.5 million coming on the books here. How are you going to fund it? What are the sport allotments going to look like moving forward into the future here, based not just on the House settlement, but enrollment numbers across the country? You're going to see some shifts in enrollment at colleges, and I've heard that could impact the type of sports that are offered. So there is a lot to unpack. We could do like a whole hour and a half segment on this thing, because all I do is sit and read this stuff and study up on it, because it's constantly changing. I don't know how everyone keeps up with it.
Well, maybe we'll do that. Maybe like the pull the plug episode will be, let's just bore people to death with as much in-depth NIL and transfer portal stuff and house settlement stuff. And maybe that'll just be the walk-off. We'll do like 4 hours straight reading documents.
I've heard a million people tell me, oh, well, it's your settlement. It's the house settlement. Everybody's joking with me. You're holding everything up, man.
How have I not made that joke? That should be my joke. That's a perfect Ross joke, and I didn't make it. Final point on Gopher football, then we'll start to wrap up this edition. We're inside of, well, I guess we'll call it 8 weeks until the Gophers take on the University of Buffalo on the dreaded Thursday night game that I also despise to open up the season. It's so early to make these broad opinions and formulate these takes, because you kind of got to see some of these games before you really can, especially with a new quarterback at the helm. I'll say this, though, just from what I saw last year, what I think we'll get out of the quarterback position and the schedule, I think it's probably a 6 or 7 win team, Daniel, and I'm excited for that. Some years you look at 6 wins and 7 wins, you go, that's not good enough. I would say, looking at the schedule and knowing the quarterback position, the non-conference schedule, you should win 2, maybe 3 of the games. I think this could be a 6-win team, and I think that would be a good start, assuming you can keep the quarterback in the fold for more than a single season, which I believe that they can.
There are a lot of unknown variables. How does the offensive line come together? I mean, you got 2 guys coming back on the O-line, but they're playing different positions. Greg Johnson going to left guard, Ashton Beers playing center, and then you got transfers around it. What does the left tackle spot look like? Is it Khalid Tafai, transfer from Washington? Is it Nathan Roy? What does the right side look like? You got Dylan Ray over there from Kentucky. You got Marcellus Marshall. Who plays where? Combinations have to be figured out. It takes time for that stuff to gel. So early in the season, how quickly does it click? I think you might see some run game changes based on the strengths and weaknesses of the current offensive line. You mentioned the quarterback, Drake Lindsey. They're very high on him. They love the talent that he possesses and how he's leading the team, but it's a whole different beast getting out on the field playing games. There's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. It's just how it works in playing in a conference like the Big Ten. But, offensively, I think they're going to have some things to work out. Defensively, same thing. You got a brand new coordinator. How do some of these rotational guys on the defensive line develop? Rush ends going through some transition. The cornerback spot opposite Zaquan Bryan, who emerges for that role. The back end of the defense will be the strength with Coy Carey and Aiden Gooseby. But, how does that front 7 gel is the main thing I'm looking for on defense, and then Danny Collins putting his stamp on it. So there's unknown variables at some spots, and we don't really know how it's all going to click until we see games and get around the team a little bit more than we have been.
Final thought for you in closing on edition number 251 of the soon-to-be award-winning and quite possibly defunct Minnesota Sports Chat. Don't forget promo code SportsChat at coffeebybeans.com. Saves you some cash at checkout. Our Winnipeg Blue Bombers are 2-0, 2 wins over the BC Lions to start the year, 1 at home, 1 on the road. We get the Edmonton Elks tonight. What can you tell me about the Edmonton Elks?
I haven't watched much CFL this year, Ross.
I know you.
I actually was busy with UFL because I was doing some prep for UFL games, so I haven't had CFL.
That title game was a doozy this year, wasn't it?
That was unreal. DC's was putting up points, man. It was so easy to see. All you got to do is look at who has the best offensive line at the beginning of the year in that league, and they end up winning every time. I mean, because there's such a big drop off in talent. But UFL is where I've spent my energy. Maybe now that we're in the sports segment of the year that we are, where the NBA is done, I'll start digging into the CFL now and catch up.
Former Bearcats great and soon-to-be CFL Hall of Famer Zach Collaros was suspended for the first game because he didn't take an off-season drug test. So our guy Chris Strevler just slinging the ball all over the field. Man. Yeah, Strev, man, he's still kicking for our Blue Bombers. He gets in the end zone basically almost every game because he's the short yardage quarterback. Because, in the CFL, the neutral zone truly is the neutral zone. You have to have that buffer. So if it's third and inches or second and inches, almost every team runs some type of quarterback sneak or some type of quarterback draw. And Strevler, that's his role for the Bombers, but they let him tear it up in the first game when he stepped in.
My bucket list is to get up to Winnipeg for a CFL game.
Oh, you have to. I did it a few years ago. It's awesome. And our guy, Drew Wolotarski, now I think with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, so he's no longer with our Blue Bombers. But yeah, a lot of Gopher love in the CFL. I've said this before. The UFL was better this year when I watched it. To me, it still doesn't hold. It's better. The CFL's better. It's just better football. And mainly because it's different. The athletes, I will say this, the athletes in the UFL are getting better. Like they're better. They're better. I'll give them that. But even by and large, how some of the quarterback play in the UFL compared to the CFL is just mind-numbingly painful to watch.
Yeah. Well, and you look at the style of the CFL, it's so different in terms of some of the little nuances from other styles of football that it's intriguing. It's slightly different. It gives you something, a little different feel.
The CFL benefits quarterbacks too. Like you can be a lesser quarterback and still be pretty good just because the field's wide open. So anywho,
right.
That's enough CFL talk, but Bombers and Elks tonight on TSN or your illegal streaming or unethical streaming packages. For some people don't know who that would be. But anywho. That'll do it, House. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in about a week. Are you excited to just kick my butt around a golf course again?
I'm excited to just get out, play a little golf, have some fun. Something I love to do. So
I'm gonna see you on 4th of July Eve. So should we grill some burgers or hot dogs or something? I think we should. It's America.
Blackstone Nation, man. Blackstone Nation.
Blackstone Nation. I bet you have an elite Blackstone, don't you?
Blackstone, I'll cook breakfast on that baby, lunch, dinner, you name it. This is the time of year. It's Blackstone season. Stir fry, elite.
And my sources tell me it is gophersguru.com for everything Gopher sports, correct?
Gophersguru.com, $5 a month. Subscribe, support local content. Tons of stuff out there in recruiting. Getting ready for season previews of the opponents. You'll want to check those out. In-depth look at what the Gophers have in front of them in the non-conference slate.
I'll leave you with this, Daniel. If you choose Penn State over the University of Minnesota, I simply cannot help you. I can't do anything for you. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. You can go play for that despicable program. That's all I'll say about that. That's all I got, Daniel. I wish him well.
Appreciate it.
See you, buddy. Mr. Daniel House. Gophersguru.com. I am Ross Brendel at the Ross Brendel on the X Machine. That will do it for this edition of Minnesota Sports Chat.
Thanks for listening to Minnesota Sports Chat, presented by Beans Coffee Company. Use the promo code SPORTSCHAT. That's one word, Sports Chat, to save at checkout. Follow Ross on X at the Ross Brendel. Like and subscribe to Minnesota Sports Chat wherever you get your podcasts. Rate and review kindly.